Hello everyone and welcome back to the woods at Lone Pine Tarot. I hope you're having a peaceful day or night wherever you are. Today's topic is meant as a little boost of joy as well as reflection. I think we go through life wondering, how do I see myself? How do others see me? But how often do we actually ask, how does spirit see me? Or how do my guides see me? And it's important to hear that, I think, because they have a higher perspective of us than we and our fellow humans do, and they can see the light within us all the clearer, especially the good we don't always recognize or give ourselves enough credit for. With that being said, let's peek at our piles. Over here on the left for pile 1, your pile leader today is Celebrate the Sacred Gap, or number 47 if you'd like to pick by a number. In the middle for pile 2, your pile leader is You're in Great Company, or number 16. And on the right for pile 3, your pile leader is Flip It Upside Down with the number 27. Pause here, of course, if you'd like a little more time to choose, but when you're ready, your timestamp is waiting in the description below. I'll see you when you're reading. Hi there, pile number 1. Welcome to your reading on what spirit adores about your soul and the light that you carry within. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the beautiful card of Celebrate the Sacred Gap, or the number 47. And at the very bottom, it says, Give thanks for buffer time. Now, when I meditated on your card before I even hit the record button today, what really stood out to me intuitively is that I feel like spirit really appreciates the way you see reality and the way you see situations from different perspectives. Specifically, the keyword that came forward when I was meditating on the card was layers. I think you tend to see things from not just those different perspectives I mentioned, but also you tend to see life in so many different ways. It's almost kind of like an analytical type brain, but not analytical in the stereotypical, like very like mechanical minded or very like organized minded, which, I mean, you could be. That's not impossible, right? But specifically they're saying analytical and layered in the way of you just see things with so many different dimensions, I guess, is the best way to put it. Now, that might mean spiritually as well, of course. Sometimes people see into, depending on their abilities spiritually, like, seeing the other side, mediumship, things like that. You might also have that as well, but it's just your perspective and the way you see life is so refreshing and unique is what I'm hearing, because you see those layers. And two, like, hopefully you can pick this up on camera, but down here, there's a figure sitting almost on the shore of this kind of dimensional landscape here. And then there's figures behind them pointing up even higher and seeing things from like a higher perspective. Like, look out there, look up at this thing instead of what's down here on the ground. So I think that's the other thing that's really good about your soul that spirit and your spirit guides adore, is you see things from that higher perspective too, not just from the layered perspective, but also, I don't know. I think you tend to have a very organized mind. As I said, you tend to have a very good mind in terms of, like, you don't always see everything surface level like most people do. It's just so much dimensionality, I guess, to kind of reuse that term, the dimensional thinking that, I don't know, Spirit just really wants to commend you for today. So that's the first thing that stood out to me. But of course, we'll see what your other cards say. We have actually quite a few decks today. I wanted to play with a little bit more decks than usual. So first up, we'll grab a tarot card from the Pastoral Tarot. So Spirit, what else do you really appreciate or adore about Pile 1's soul? What do you like about their soul? Thank you. We have the Six of Pentacles. You're kind, Pile 1. You have a lot of kindness. We have here a figure who came out of the house, and she is sharing food with someone who is less fortunate. I wonder if a lot of you tend to focus on, say, charity, or you tend to focus on, even if not in an organized way, you are very aware. And maybe this is where that layered perspective kind of aspect to your soul comes in, but you're very aware of things that most people would just run by. And I think with the Six of Pentacles, which is usually a card of like fairness and charity, you, like, a lot of people in life might just run by other people suffering and not even think twice about it, or they kind of get that bystander effect where they're like, well, no one else is helping them, so I mean, I'm not going to stick my neck out and help them. You don't have that problem, pile one, like, at all. Like, you tend to go against the flow of what people would normally do in the best ways possible, is what Spirit is saying. You tend to, I mean, maybe you even literally will share food with people that are less fortunate, like this particular depiction of the Six of Pentacles, I meant to say, shows with, the lady sharing the food or the bread with the man, okay? You bring a lot of goodness and kindness. I think that's that, especially like a very strong layer to your soul. In fact, I'm getting the color yellow a lot with your aura. There's a lot of yellow in a lot of your auras today, pile one. That's kind of that feeling I'm getting. A lot of cheerful joyfulness and happiness. And, I don't know, you're just someone who... You're like a spot of sunshine, is what Spirit is saying. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to grab the Elki Dex next. Oh, okay, well, there we go. And I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but Abba Nalaka, I believe is her name, and is she who battles with justice, fierce, and commitment. Okay, so some of you might even lean more into the kindness and fairness aspect, not just on the, helping people out level in terms of like, here's some food, here's some support. I think a lot of you tend to orient towards actually fighting. You're more of a warrior kind of archetype, pile one. You actually will fight for people to get a fair shake, or you'll fight for people to get justice, or you'll fight for people who like maybe society tends to give up on, or society tends to ignore, things like that. Like, you aren't just passive about it, okay? That's the other thing, is like, a lot of people can be really kind, but passive about it, where they're like, oh, well, if I see this thing, maybe I'll help out, right? I think you tend to, pile one, be the person that's like, no, this is my driving need. I see something, I have to fix it. I have to be there and be kind, and I have to, and I wonder if a lot of you, the reason why the reason why is I'm picking up on is either earlier on in this particular life of yours, you struggled with people not helping you a lot, and so you know what it's like to be to that person where no one is reaching out to you, or if not specifically in this particular incarnation, pile one, it could also be past life energy where you struggled with either one or like multiple lives where there was a lot of dealing with, nobody standing up for you, nobody fighting for you. And so that's why I think on a soul level, it really kind of triggers you when you see things that are unjust, which same, I'm just like that too. Justice is one of the main things that always kind of, injustice, I should say, irks me. So I think you kind of are similar that way, pile one, in that you see something and you're like, I have to say something. I can't just let this go. Like, and other people might be like, oh no, don't rock the boat. Don't do that, pile one, or, but Spirit is commending you for that. So if you've ever felt guilty for rocking boats, pile one, don't, because Spirit is saying that's a really, really big part of why they appreciate your energy in this world, okay? Because that's rare, I'll tell you. I mean, we all know that from, our human perspective, that people that are willing to fight and stand up for the right thing is rare. So rare. But even from a spiritual perspective, like from your guides and from Spirit, themselves, like, they're saying this is rare, okay? So we like the way that your soul shines uniquely in that you're just a warrior spirit. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing. So we'll look at your Citadel Oracle next. What else do they adore about your soul? Or maybe it'll expand more on what we've talked about already. Number one, we have the Diviner. So like I said before, some of you might be able to kind of pierce through layers and dimensions on the other side. I thought maybe mediumship, things like that. And a Diviner is, literally kind of what we're doing right now. We're doing divination, right? We're reading signs out of, cards, cardomancy, but, you can divine out of many different things, runes. This one in particular is a seed, okay? And this is the element of fire. You are discerning, you see signs, and that's another reason why you're able to pierce through the veil and see things in a very dimensional way, is because you don't just look at that surface layer like we talked about before, pile one. You also look at everything with a very keen eye. Nothing slips past you. I know this is technically fire here, but you kind of give me Virgo energy. A lot of Virgos I've known have been people that are very analytical and organized and keen. They see things very clearly, okay? Also could be Libra too. We did talk about justice, of course, but I don't know, Libra, Virgo vibes, something like that. And then your second card is the guide with the element of air. So speaking of Libra, air sign, right? We have inheritance and or correction. Yes, you are a leader. You don't follow. That's another reason why your soul shines so brightly in Spirit's eyes, is because, you know, just like we were talking about before with that warrior energy with Abanalaka, you know, you don't just sit back, you don't just rest on your laurels, you don't just go like, yeah, well, whatever, you know, there's problems, I can't fix them all. You're the ones like, no, I'm going to fix them, okay? Especially with the symbolism of the ringing bell, you bring attention to things. You're like, hey, like, oh... This is kind of a video game reference, so if you haven't played video games, I apologize, but like Navi in The Legend of Zelda, like, hey, listen, right, that's you. You're like, here, over here, everybody pay attention to this thing, because of not only air as that element of that card, which air is about communication, so you're communicative about these things, but also the bell makes me think of someone ringing attention to something, because that's what bells do, right? Pile one, bells, you know, bring attention to either the time or either, I mean, I guess you even think of like in terms of sirens or like bells on a shop door, like, you know, pay attention, someone's here, okay? I think you also tend to, I'm hearing intuitively, you tend to make people feel welcome. You don't tend to ignore people. Like, if you ever had a social situation, pile one, where someone came in, or even maybe it was yourself, into a social situation, and you felt as if, like, nobody really acknowledged you, or, like, that one person is, like, they just kind of ignored them, or, like, they even literally, sometimes it's unfortunate, but it does happen where, like, people literally not even, like, body language-wise, they won't even open up their bodies, like, it'll to like welcome this person in or welcome you in. You're not like that though, pile one. You're very much so like, okay, here's a social situation. Someone feels as if they're being shut out. I'm going to open that path for them. That's another way that you're a leader that Spirit really appreciates about you, is that you're the one who will ring the bell for other people and show other people, hey, wait a minute, you know, there's a layer here that you're not paying attention to in terms of how is this newcomer to this group feeling, okay? Because maybe you've been in that place yourself before, pile one. That's why you might be especially sensitive to it in a positive way, because you're like, okay, I've been that person ignored before. I don't want to be ignored, okay? So that's another thing, really, you know, combining just not just that like socially, but also with the kindness of that Six of Pentacles, that charity. You don't ignore people. That's another really beautiful part of your soul that Spirit wants to commend you for today. You don't just, you know, like I said before, it's like the bystander effect that does not affect you whatsoever. You don't just walk by and be like, oh, whatever. A lot of people are cowardly. A lot of people will just walk by. A lot of people will not, or even if they do notice things, like someone, say, being ignored in a social group, they're cowardly and they just won't even lift a finger to help because, you know, I don't know, different social pressures or whatever. But you are just like, no, I don't care about social pressure. I don't care about, you know, like what you care about, pile one, is making sure that things are fair. So that's that Libra energy again. You care about making sure that everybody feels welcome and that everybody feels like it's an even social playing field. So just pat yourself on the back for that, because it's very heavily emphasized with your reading today, pile one, okay? And then we're going to look at your main tarot cards too. Let's see what else Spirit wants to say about your soul. You're also patient, I'm hearing. They're saying you're very patient. You kind of have to be because, you know, you see things so analytically and in such high dimensional layers. That's why it's taught you to be very patient. Very patient with people, too. Excuse me, my voice got scratchy there. You're patient with people. You know, you don't suffer fools gladly, or mean people gladly, right? But you're patient with people that are well-meaning. It's a very good part of your soul as well. We have the Ace of Wands reversed, okay? So normally that would mean like burnout or having a hard time sparking something. I'm going to read the next card before I say anything on that. However, I have a feeling they're saying there's something about burnout here. Let's keep going. Next we have the Knight of Wands reversed. Yes, okay. Interesting. So normally these would be negative because they're reversed, pile one, but reading a question like this where we're asking what does Spirit adore about your soul, I kind of see these as things that you have resistances towards. So number one, you have a resistance towards burnout. I think you have a very energetic soul, not in the very, like not in a way of like fireworks, like, you know, bang, bang, you know, those like loud explosive bursts. No, but you have a very burnout resistant, energetic soul in terms of you can keep a metaphorical candle burning for a very long time. You are determined. You are someone who is stubborn in a good way, like determined, stubborn in a good way. Okay. And then the Knight of Wands too, reversed. Another resistance you have is you do not hesitate to take action on things that you are passionate about, which we already kind of discussed quite a bit with the other cards. So I won't expand on that too much, but that, knights are action takers in tarot, and you tend to be, I think, yeah, you don't, I mean, even literally when you look at this particular depiction of the Knight of Wands, he's rowing in a boat with a very cute golden retriever in front of him. It's almost like upright, like he's like kind of more, I mean, yes, he's doing something he's passionate about, because that's what a Knight of Wands does, but it's kind of a more laid back, like, oh, I'm just kind of rowing a boat, versus reversed. It's like I said, that resistance you have to not just gliding along, not just taking life gliding along. Okay. And then your third tarot card today is, the Tower. Okay, once again, would normally be a negative card, because normally it means disasters, right? People are falling out of the treehouse. Uh-oh. But this is what I was telling you before. You are a warrior, pile one. And you're a warrior specifically in the way that you bring massive change. That is another thing about your soul that Spirit really appreciates about you. You are a change maker. You don't just sit and let bad structures rot. Maybe literally speaking, maybe you like to build things, but also metaphorically speaking, because that's the thing about the Tower, pile one, is that the Tower falls because it was built on shaky foundations in the first place. And you're someone who sees the shaky foundations and you're like, well, this is going to blow up in our faces. I mean, maybe that's where Diviner comes into. Maybe people will even tell you like, well, how did you know that thing was going to go wrong? Because you always know, pile one. Because you are analytical and you see things in layers that people don't always understand or perceive, because they just kind of get caught up in the currents of life. But you are like, no, this is going to fall. What do we do to mitigate the damage from this? But yes, also, the Tower is a representative of massive change. So, keep making change. Spirit appreciates that about you. Keep inspiring change in the world. That's also a great thing about you that Spirit wants you to keep doing, okay? And then we have the Nine of Swords, okay? Once again, normally would be negative. However, I would take the traditional meaning of the Nine of Swords to be like, oh, someone's anxious or worried about something, and that, once again, they're commending you for the things that you actually worry about. You worry about how are people doing. You worry about what is the state of people that are underserved or underprotected in our world. You worry about the state of, is something being fair or just. You worry about, do people feel welcome? Do people feel comfortable? Because a lot of people, as I said, they just glide through life not thinking about those things. And yes, sometimes it can be torturous for you, pile one, in the way of, yes, you might tend to be a bit more of a high anxiety individual, myself included, so I'm not saying that's not a bad thing, right? But sometimes you maybe take on a little bit too much of worry upon yourself. But Spirit here in this reading is basically saying that actually, silver lining, that is a good part of you, at least in terms of the way that you're always hyper vigilant and hyper aware of when things need to be fixed, okay? Now, people might not always like when you point it out, but that's not your problem, okay? Because you're just the one who says, well, wait a minute, maybe we should be worried about this. Maybe we should be, like with the Tower, aware that this is shaky foundations, okay? And once again, then they always come back to you with their head hanging, and they're like, well, how did you know that, pile one? I swear to God, people must tell you a lot. Well, how did you know that? Or you were right. There you go. That's another phrase I'm sure you probably hear a lot, too, is, oh, yeah, you were right. Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of like, what's the Greek figure in... Was she in the Iliad? I think she was in the Iliad. Some Greek literature. I think Cassandra. She was the one that foresaw the future, but she was cursed to have nobody believe her. I think that was Cassandra, yes. I think that kind of represents you, pile one. You're like, well, you see the future. No one listens. But when the time comes, I get to say I told you so. Kind of satisfying, at least at the end, right? And then we have, oh, beautiful, the Ten of Cups. You have a beautiful, wonderful gift for bringing happiness, for helping people find their happily ever afters, and also You tend to be a good person in relationships, pile 1. That's what the Ten of Cups is often about, is happily ever after with relationships. It's people who make good partners, people who make good parents as well, because there's also that family aspect of the Ten of Cups. You can see it's just, a whole family here having fun on the beach in this particular depiction, okay? We have a rainbow in the background. You help people find the joy even after times of sorrow or hardship, just like the rainbow comes after the rain, okay? I find it interesting that she's holding a stone here in the background, the mother. I think that's a stone, and then the boy is holding a ball. You carry weight for others. I think you carry a lot on your shoulders for your family and your loved ones, and or your partner if you have one. Although I think you know not to do it to the detriment of yourself. I'm hearing that you already learned that lesson to not take on too many burdens for other people. I think a lot of you might have struggled with that earlier on in life, where you were so impassioned about doing the right thing by others and helping other people that maybe sometimes people tended to take advantage of that. I think you've already learned how to overcome that, though, pile 1, because that's the thing with people like you here. You have such a beautiful soul and such a great shining light that other people tend to take advantage of people like you, I think, earlier on in life before you've learned to kind of set up strong boundaries. I think you're already past that, like I said, but I do see a little bit, there's something about a burden there that in the past, I think maybe you had to learn to, like I said, set up those boundaries, but I think now you've already been pretty good about setting out those boundaries, okay? You still will worry about people, but you've learned, well, I can't always throw myself into the fire or set myself on fire to keep other people warm, to use the common phrase, okay? So good on you for that. Spirit's also commending you for that. That might have even been where the Ace of Wands reversed energy, reading that more traditionally kind of came out in the beginning here as like your first card, or like earlier in your life, or like inciting incident card, I say, with that particular spread I like to use, is that you did kind of burn yourself out for other people earlier on. But now you've learned to have healthy connections with other people, hence the Ten of Cups in the end, okay? So, beautiful soul, pile 1. No wonder why Spirit is very happy with you. I mean, you help people pay attention to the things that matter. You see things very clearly. That beautiful analytical mind of yours, it sees in so many different layers, and that warrior of justice energy, too. I mean, if I had to summarize you, I guess, in one phrase, it would be a warrior of fairness and justice, okay? That's really how Spirit sees you at your most light and your most bright and your most impactful in a good way in this world. Okay, so wonderful. Love that for you. Love this reading. Wonderful souls. Thank you so much for joining our reading today, pile 1, and thank you for being you. That's another thing. Remember yourself to, or remember to pat yourself on the back for that. Thank you for being you. Okay. Yes. Okay. If you liked the reading, if it helped you, if it resonated, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And thank you very much if you choose to do those things, if you feel compelled to do so as this reading wraps up today. And as we say in our tradition at Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night. And I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Bye, pile 1. Hi there, pile 2. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on what Spirit adores most about your soul and how it shines most clearly. As you recall, you were drawn most to You're in Great Company, number 16, and at the bottom the card says, pull back to propel forward. Now, when I meditated on this card before the reading, before I even hit the record button, what really came forward to me, and this might sound kind of silly, but hear me out. Spirit was describing your soul as a warm, fuzzy blanket. Like the most cozy, inviting, soothing blanket after, just imagine that you've been outside on the coldest day of the year, which, I mean, well, I guess it depends on where you live. Where I live, cold gets down to -40 wind chill Fahrenheit, so very cold where I live, so that's kind of what I'm drawing from for a reference. So imagine being out in that kind of weather and then coming inside next to a fire and wrapping yourself in a very cozy blanket. That is how Spirit described your soul. You tend to be someone, I think, that is very warm, someone who is very soothing to others. You kind of almost feel like, to me, once again, strange metaphor, but I always say what comes out because it might be, maybe some of you are drinking tea right now. They're saying, too, it's like taking in a warm drink of tea. The way that you affect other people around you and the way that Spirit sees you. You are the kind of soul that Spirit looks down on earth and says, that is the kind of soul that makes the world so much less colder. Okay? A blanket of pink, and I'm seeing a lot of white in your aura too. Pink and white, bracing against that cold. And it's rare. Because I think a lot of people over time in life, unfortunately, they get kind of jaded out of kindness. They get kind of jaded out of being that warm. But you're just like that feeling people get when they come in from a very cold day, as I said, pile 2, that, oh, thank God, this is a person that I can feel relief and comfortable around. Okay, so keep that in mind. Very, very beautiful energy there. Kind of interesting. I was like, warm, fuzzy blanket. What are you talking about, Spirit? But that is the first metaphor that came to mind. So I was like, I'll mention it. But and a warm cup of tea as well. Honey. Things like that. Very sweet. Okay, next let's draw your... I'm going to draw your pastoral tarot. I'm feeling drawn that way. So Spirit, what else would you like to say about... What do you adore about Pile 2 Soul? Well, they're also saying you're a teddy bear. It's kind of that teddy bear feeling, too. Okay, that one came out first. We have the Queen of Cups. That is very fitting, Pile 2. Okay, I'm not going to try to repeat too much, but a Queen of Cups person tends to be someone who is very warm emotionally, someone who's very in touch with their emotions, someone who knows their heart and isn't afraid to show their heart and share their heart with other people to a degree, not to, I mean, the Queen of Cups makes sure not to, cast her pearls before swine. She doesn't throw her heart out there to get trampled, but for the people that have earned it from you, you are that warm, cozy blanket, as I was saying. Or even you can look at this particular depiction, a nice sunny day on the beach. So warm and bright and calm. Because even the waves in the background aren't really doing much. It's just a very solace kind of feeling. It's like a warm beach. And you listen to others, I think, too, I'm hearing. You're very good at listening to other people. Spirit is commending you for. And that's not really a good thing about the Queen of Cups or that type of energy pile, too, is Queen of Cups people are very good at listening to other people. I wonder if you tend to become the therapist for a lot of people that you know, like your friends, your family, etc. Or maybe some of you literally are in therapy, like you are a therapist, right? Or in similar kind of counseling sorts of roles, okay? I do see that quite a lot here. And if so, you picked the right vocation, you picked the right career, because a Queen of Cups makes for a really great therapist or, coach or counselor, things like that, okay? Beautiful. Okay, let's keep going with your other cards. Let's grab your Elk-Key Oracle next. We're using a bit more decks today, switching it up. Okay, Spirit, what else do you adore about Pile 2's soul? We have... She Who Waits, Manara. Patience, waiting, and determination. So they're also commending you today, Pile 2, for your patience. You are someone who is not one to rush things. You, I think, understand the value of letting things kind of come into their own in their own time. I think that's why you do make such a good kind of counselor or therapist type for people, because you, to use a gardening metaphor, sometimes people will plant seeds and they're sitting there and they're like clapping their hands, snapping their fingers, looking at their watch. You're like, okay, when is it going to grow? When's it going to grow? But you learned from a very young age the mantra of good things come to those that wait, I guess to say in totality. You don't rush people. And I think that's why you make people so comfortable. One part of it, at least, is they're saying you don't rush others. You're very gentle. I think you're also good with animals, I'm hearing. Some of you, it might not be necessarily that you help people. You might actually help animals, too. Like, vet, or like you do therapy with animals, things like that. Like I know some people do, they'll bring in like therapy animals for people to help them with emotional traumas and other things. It's something along those lines. Like you just have a very, even if you don't literally garden or you don't literally work with animals, Pile 2, you have that kind of soul. And not that you can't connect with humans and people, but I think there's almost like a gentle wildness to you. Maybe you tend to like to be out in nature more than you like being stuck in buildings and things like that. But, well, maybe that's why you're attracted to this channel, right? Me too. Lone Pine Tarot, right? But, yeah. Just the most gentle patience I'm picking up on here. Determination, too. Let's look at your Citadel Oracle next. All right, Spirit, what else do you adore about Pile 2 Soul? Oh boy, that's a lot of cards. I don't know if I can take all those, Spirit. We're going to shuffle one more time. Hopefully with less butterfingers on my end. Okay, well this one's quite prominent. We'll take it. We have, the Herald with the element of water, just like the Queen of Cups. You might be a water sign, Pile 2. If not, you might have a lot of water placement in your chart with small regrets and longing. Small regrets and longing. And we think of a herald as someone who ushers something in. That is a very interesting card. Let me tap in for 1 second on this one. It's very odd, once again, just like cozy blankets and tea. They're saying, I don't know why this is coming up, Pile 2, especially with this card, but this is what's coming through, so I'll say it. They're saying that you remind them of Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Do not ask me why. But specifically the song in the beginning, I think it's the reprise, after she sings through the town, if you've seen the movie before, where she talks about, oh, I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell. I think it's because of that longing, like is the key word in the Herald. You have that longing, but it's specifically for something greater. Like you've always wanted to have, I don't know, maybe you tend to read a lot of like speculative fiction, like fantasy, sci-fi, things like that. I think that's what... Oh, it's hard to describe. I apologize I keep pausing here, Pile 2, but it's like you have this longing for life to be something so much more than it is. Just like Belle in Beauty and the Beast. Because she says, too, in the song, there must be more than this provincial life. Like, you don't just want life to be this boring, same routine thing day after day after day. And you don't want just that boring life, you know, like she might have had she married, say, Gaston, which, I mean, nobody wants to marry Gaston, right? But no thanks. No one wants his dirty boots on their table. But anyways, it's just like, because that's what she did, right? In the story is that she read books that were like fantastical and about, you know, like magic spells and sword fights she talks about. So it makes me think of like fantasy fiction. Some of you might even be fantasy writers, I'm not sure. Or you might like and enjoy reading fantasy. Anyways, Spirit is saying, to get back to the main topic though, is that they really appreciate that yearning in your soul to want something more and not just be complacent and happy with mundanity and to see life in a dreamier way. Yeah, it's very that water energy. Very emotional, very dreamy, kind of nebulous, but in a way that you are very open to possibilities and not just routines, like I said. And then we have, oh my god, look at that. Oh my god. Okay. Spirit's very funny today. I'm sorry I'm laughing. I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. And then you get the adventure. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and water again, definitely you're probably a water sign, Pile 2, or you have that kind of feel to you. I guess I won't expand on that too much. That's funny as heck. Yes, you don't just want a normal life, you want more. And even if you tend to live what seems to be quite a normal life, quote unquote, Pile 2, there's a part of your soul that I think just always yearns for that. As I was saying, that more. And then the keywords too are responsibility and expectations. Very responsible. I think you have high expectations for yourself, I'm hearing, based on that keyword. Oh, but god, that was funny. I'm like, I'm hearing something about Belle and her talking about wanting adventure, and then the adventurer card comes out. I'm like, okay, Spirit, yeah, uh-huh. Oh, wonderful movie, wonderful songs. Okay. Maybe you have traveled a lot, Pile 2. I don't know, maybe you yearn to travel a lot if you haven't. Maybe you weren't always content just to sit in one place, just like Belle. Okay. All right, Spirit sense of humor is great today. Okay, let's look at your main tarot cards. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Okay, we have quite a few cards popping out. First up, we have is that 2 or 3? There's 3. We have the Knight of Cups. Okay, speaking of a dreamer, kind of redundant, kind of synchronous in a good way. The Knight of Cups is somebody that takes action with their dreams and their emotions and with relationships. So you're very good with relationships too, pile 2, or your emotions as well, your own heart. There's somebody too, a Knight of Cups, who is very good at romance as well. I think Spirit's commending you for your ability to believe in love, in your ability to take action in the most, earnest way. You know, a lot of people are kind of afraid of showing their emotions, and a lot of people in life are very afraid of showing or taking action with that, like I said, that earnestness of like, this is what I want, or this is what I really care about. There's almost, and I say this with the most positive connotation possible, pile 2, there's almost a childlike nature to you. I think because of your capability to dream. You didn't lose that like a lot of people do when they become adults, which I 100% relate with them. I wonder if this might even be my pile 2, because I like fantasy fiction, just like, yeah, you seem to, pile 2, if you do. And not letting go of that youthful optimism. That's another really good thing about your soul, Spirit is saying here, okay? And then we have the Hanged Man, looking at things in different perspectives, not being afraid to look at life upside down, okay? So not only do you have that capability of being gentle and patient with others, like we said, of wanting more from life and not just accepting life for what it is, that's exactly the energy of the Hangman too, is I'm not going to accept life just the way that everybody else sees it. I want to see it in my way. And I want to see it from this perspective and that perspective, which I think a lot of you, if you are really inclined to travel or move around a lot, that's why, is because you want that Hangman energy of like, I want to see things from these different perspectives, just like Belle. Okay, she didn't want to just be stuck in that mundane life. She didn't want that mundane life either. She didn't want to live life to the script of, Mary Gaston and, whatever that would have entailed, probably misery, right? She wanted that adventure in the great wide somewhere, okay? And we have that beach metaphor again, too. I wonder if a lot of you are tend to be drawn to beaches. 'Cause I think even the Knight of Cups, he's on a beach, isn't he? Yeah, it's more of a grassy kind of beach next to the water, but he's on a beach. Lots of water all around you. And then we have the Hierophant, which is funny because I talked about you doing things from different perspectives and not wanting the mundane life, but then the Hierophant is about tradition. I think, too, it's not that you completely reject tradition, pile 2. It's not that you completely throw the baby out with the bathwater, to use the common phrase with it. I think, though, maybe that's part of your yearning that Spirit is commending you for. You yearn for life the way that it was, in some ways. Because I wonder if a lot of you tend to relate to the idea of, like, it just feels like modern life has lost its magic, is what I'm hearing. Maybe that's why you're drawn to, say, fantasy fiction and adventure stories and traveling, because you're looking for that magic that you think modern life has lost, that you think that more traditional societies had. It's something along those lines, or maybe even in terms of your own spiritual practice, you tend to try to learn more traditional things, connected with your culture or the things that you're interested in. Something along those lines. Because they're kind of showing your soul as a cloud, too. Like, taking different shapes, taking different forms. That nebulousness. In a good way. That adaptability, which is kind of like the Hangman, about seeing things from different perspectives, but also not throwing out older perspectives at the same time. It's not that you're yearning for the new, it's that you're yearning for the meaningful and that with purpose, as they're commending you for. And then we have the Two of Swords reversed. Now, I read reversals a little bit different in a reading. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 10, not 2. Blah. 10 of Swords reversed. I read reversals a little bit different in readings like this because we're asking what it is that is like positive about a situation, or, well, your soul in this case, right? So I would read this almost as like things that you're resistant to with reversals. So the 10 of Swords reversed would mean that you have a resistance to Oh, I don't think you'd ever betray anybody, pile 2. That's another thing they're really commending you for, because the Ten of Swords can mean betrayal. That, or I think you have been wounded a lot by other people, but you didn't let it, once again, you didn't let it jade you like most people. It did not jade you in the terms of, like, you didn't let it kill your soul. You didn't let it stop you. I mean, because even with those 10 swords, that's a lot of wounds, pile 2. But you healed. So that's another thing I'm hearing about you, is you're very good at healing. Not just yourself, or I'm sorry, not just others, but also yourself. Because we talked about earlier, like, I think you like helping people. That you're that cozy warm blanket, as we discussed, or that nice warm sip of tea. But at the same time, you've done a lot of internal healing that Spirit is very, very happy with you for, is what I'm hearing. They're very underlining, like, I mean, compared to most people, I think you've done a lot of emotional healing that a lot of people won't even touch, like, for the entire span of their lives, because it's just too uncomfortable, or it's, like, too much shadow work. They're like, I don't want to look at that, right? They're like, I really want to find my own flaws, but you've done the work, pile 2. You've done that. And that's what makes you such a beautiful soul, is that you have done that work. Whereas most people, like I said, won't touch that with a 10-foot pole because they're like, oh, that's uncomfortable. But good on you, though. Very, very good on you. And then we have look at that, the Queen of frickin' Cups again, but she's reversed this time. And once again, she's on a beach. What is this? Maybe you are blonde, pile 2, or if not, oh, we have darker haired people too, but there's a lot of blondes in this reading as well. We have kind of blonde there with the Hangman, blonde Hierophant, blonde Queen of Cups both times. And then, of course, the Ten of Swords and Knight of Cups, they have rounded black hair. But, yeah, I'm sorry, he was reversed. Death. We'll put him back up. And then, yes, the Queen of Cups was reversed. So, once again, it's like a resistance. You have a resistance to... let me think about that for a second. Because a Queen of Cups reversed would normally be somebody who is, like, immature, or she's not emotionally sure of herself or her heart, but you have a resistance to feeling immature or feeling like, I don't, because a lot of people will listen to their own heart and then they'll discount what it says, or they'll feel ashamed for listening to their own heart, or they'll feel, once again, that childlike quality of yours that is so good. Like, a lot of people will feel immature for, like, oh, I want this thing, or I'll romanticize this thing, or I feel dreamy about that thing. And you just don't have that, pile 2. And in the best way possible, as I said, it's like you... And once again, I mean, because both of these Queen of Cups are holding shells. Like, they're listening. They listen. You're a great listener to other people, as I said, but also to yourself. A lot of people stuff cotton in the ears of themselves to their own heart in this world, I think. At least in my own personal experience. I think a lot of people, they put themselves down and pare themselves down into an easily digestible version of themselves that is easily consumed by other people. But Spirit is saying that you don't do that. You don't say, okay, let me pare myself down and tamp my heart into this easy little neat box for everybody to appreciate me. Here is who I am and all I am at all times. It's an honesty. That's what it is. It's an emotional honesty that you have, pile 2. And some people might find it overwhelming, but it says more about them than you. It says more about them and a reluctance or an inability to digest more complex things and to appreciate people who are honest, because within themselves they are not honest with their own heart. It's more, I guess it's kind of a projection thing, pile 2. So if you have found that in your life where people are like, oh, you're too much, or you're too dreamy, or, you know, oh, you're too fanciful, or you're too optimistic, you know, kind of whatever nasty things people might have said, like, just know Spirit really, really appreciates you for those very things that other people might have put down, okay? Because I'm hearing that might have been a bit of a struggle that you had earlier on in life. So keep yearning for that adventure in the great wide summer, especially that, because that was, as I said, the song, and then the adventure card came out, and I was like, you're funny, Spirit. So yes, keep yearning for that greater adventure, pile 2. keep being you, please. That's another reason why I did these readings today, is because I think, as I said in the intro, so many people, they think about how do I think of myself, and they think about how do other people think of me, that they don't ask enough, well, how does Spirit see me? How does Spirit see me? Because Spirit sees you in such a different facet and perspective than, people here on Earth do, ourselves included. And so there's things about you that Spirit, as I said, really appreciates that you might have been put down for in the past, or might have even put yourself down for in the past. So these readings, as I said, are to encourage the parts of ourselves that Spirit really wants more of in the world, okay? So keep being you, keep being that wonderful person, okay? And I swear to God, you're a water sign. Or you have a lot of water placement, because there's just water everywhere. Even in the elemental symbolism of the Citadel Oracle, okay? Keep being that cozy blanket and that warm sip of tea and that nice sunny beach. Because that's what makes your soul very beautiful, okay? So, that was your reading today on what does Spirit adore about your soul and the light within that you shine out and they really appreciate that's unique about you. I hope the reading helped you, that you liked it. Also, of course, that it resonated. And if so, if you feel compelled to do so as the reading wraps up here, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much if you choose to do any of those 3 things, if not more than just one today. It's always up to you. So, but I am appreciative of when you do, okay? And as we say in our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night, and I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Goodbye, Pile 2. Hi there, Pile number 3. Welcome today to your reading on what Spirit adores most about your soul and the light that you carry that's unique, that Spirit appreciates. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn most to the card Flip It Upside Down and or the number 27. And at the very bottom, the tagline says, question your beliefs. Now, I did meditate on your card before I even hit the record button today, just to see what intuitive messages came through. And the main thing that Spirit said about you was, and I mean this in the best way possible, you're intense. You're a very intense soul. I think a lot of you, and I know this isn't like a physical description type reading, but there was something about your eyes that kept coming forward. You have a very intense gaze, or like something very intense about your eyes, not in like a menacing way, of course, Pile 3, but like a very piercing, intense gaze, in that I think you see things a lot deeper than most people do, or you tend to read people very well. So if people have told you before that your eyes are intense or that you're intense, it's really more, Spirit is saying, about their discomfort with scrutiny and with people that can see truth very clearly than it is a flaw on your part. Because I see you also as someone that's not afraid just to stare into other people and see them very clearly. You're also someone who is unafraid, I'm hearing, to peer into the depths of things. Like, what's that old quote? Is it Nietzsche, I think, technically? Something about stare into the abyss and the abyss will also stare into you. Now, I'm not seeing that as relevant to you in like the traditional meaning of that quote, but I am seeing it as like you're someone who is willing to stare into an abyss, into the unknown. And it's very uncommon, because I think a lot of people in our modern lives, we tend to kind of flinch away from the unknown. We kind of try to flinch away from, I mean, I guess humans have done that for centuries, all of humanity's history, where the unknown is something that's so scary. We think to ourselves like, oh, I don't want to think about the monster under my bed, or what's that in the closet in the shadows, or, even if you think about it in caveman terms, like, I don't really want to venture beyond the cave, because what's beyond the cave is so scary. It's a landscape I don't understand. But you're not like that, Pile 3. You're a voyager. You are a pathfinder. You are someone who can stare into that abyss of the unknown and say, well, look at that. That's something that I'm very curious about. So I think a lot of you also might tend to be really invested or interested in the unknown in terms of, well, I mean, you're into tarot, obviously, because you're watching a tarot reading. You're at least have interest peaked that way. So, things like spiritual, tarot, divination. I'm hearing like paranormal things as well. I think a lot of you might be interested in, say, like cryptids, or you might be interested in like ghost hunting, things like that, kind of on the unknown, mysterious side of life. Or even if it's not necessarily like supernatural cryptid or like ghost hunting stuff, you're interested in, a lot of you actually might be kind of scientific minded too. I'm hearing, because that is what scientists do know, in that they do peer into the unknown and ask questions. You're so much like that in the best way possible, pile 3. And on top of that, too, you might not just be interested in, like, science, cryptids, ghosts, whatnot. You tend to be someone who loves mysteries, I think. I think a lot of you might be, like, really avid, like, mystery readers, or, like, horror, thriller type readers, or maybe you're even into, like, writing that kind of stuff, because maybe even the way you dress too. There's something very, once again, I'm trying not to make this reading about physical appearances, but they are saying, like, even not just your gaze, but I think the way that you dress is very intense in the best way possible. Some of you might dress kind of more in, like, a lot of darker colors, or you might dress in very bold ways, but I mean that, once again, best connotation, kind of possible. You're someone who's not afraid to stand out. You're someone who's not afraid to say, here's this thing that would make other people uncomfortable to stand out, but I'm not afraid to pierce into that. I'm not afraid to show that boldness. I'm not afraid to be refreshingly me. We're in a world where a lot of people really just, this is what I said to another pile, a lot of people just bottle themselves up into digestible pieces for other people, like, based on what society wants or what society says, and you're not like that, pile 3. So just to summarize so far, just based on that one card especially, you are loved and adored by spirit, especially because of all of what I just said. Because you peer into the unknown. You're not afraid. You can stare into it unflinchingly and say, what's there? Okay. Wonderful energy. Okay. All right. Let's keep going with your other cards. Kind of love the intense energy that your soul gives off here. Very beautiful. Let's grab your pastoral tarot next. I wonder if a lot of you were born in the autumn or the winter. I'm hearing too. I know that can be a lot of different astrological signs, but I'm hearing autumn or winter for a lot of you. Not sure why. Okay, let's look at your pastoral tarot. Spirit, what else do you adore about pile 3 soul? We have, oh my god, look at that. Okay, normally, so the 9 of Cups I would read as emotional satisfaction, someone who is odd. I wouldn't say luxurious necessarily in the way of, like, vain, but the 9 of Cups can mean satisfaction emotionally with things like, I have enough in life, or I have enough. Like, and it doesn't really matter the quantity, pile 3, but I think you're someone who tends to be easily satisfied with what you have. Like, you're not greedy. You're not wanting more all the time. That's not a really good part of your soul, but beyond the traditional interpretation of the 9 of Cups. Remember I talked about how deep you are and how you're unafraid to look into the unknown? And what is that girl doing in that picture? If you can't see it, she's literally looking into the unknown, the darkness of a well. Okay, so that's just a wonderful synchronicity there. I love when that pops out. She's unafraid to peer into the deeper side of life. Into the shadows. I think I was bang on, pile 3. Look at that. Okay, let's keep going. Wonderful. We have next, I'll do the Elke Oracle. Excuse me, my voice is a bit scritchy. I was singing earlier today, so sometimes that can make a voice a bit scratchy. Okay, Spirit, what else do you adore about pile 3 and their soul? You are a deep person as well, I'm hearing. Interesting. She who hesitates with Mora. Ponder, delay, and confidence. And once again, we have a character who's turning away from the light here and peering into the shadows. And we do see kind of an autumnal scene here as well, because there's fall leaves all around her. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking the 9 of Cups. It's more of a summer scene, but yes. She who hesitates, ponder, delay, and confidence. I wonder, I'm hearing, I think earlier in your life, pile 3, you might have been more hesitant to be you. You might have spent a lot of time trying to fit in more. But then I think you already learned on a soul level that Spirit really appreciates about you to not worry about fitting in so much. I think that Mora is more about who you were when you were younger. She seems to me somebody that is like, oh, you might have been quite the shy kid, pile 3, which relatable, so was I. So I totally know where that comes from in terms of being shy, where it's like that feeling of like, oh, I just want to fit in, or I feel like people don't. And that's the thing too, is like when you're a shy kid, pile 3, like it's hard to fit in. And I think people kind of misunderstand quiet people a lot. And so I think you found a lot of that misunderstanding earlier on in life. And so you thought, well, if I fit in more, people will just accept me more, and like, they'll look past what I think are my flaws. But that's the thing is Spirit is saying, pile 3, and I think you already know this because, like I said, I think this is younger you. I think you've already grown kind of past that. But that's the thing is that it wasn't really a flaw to be shy or to be quiet or to want to peer into the weird and the unknown, okay? I think you've embraced your weirdness. And once again, I say that with the best positive connotation possible. You've embraced your weirdness later on in life. And that's what makes you, Spirit is saying, refreshing. They're comparing you to, like, having wandered through a desert for a very long time, parched, and your soul to Spirit is like them finally finding, like, the coldest ice water after having walked through that desert, finally finding an oasis of sorts. Because they're saying that so many souls on Earth, especially when they're not comfortable with what makes them unique, or not comfortable with what parts of themselves that society doesn't necessarily always accept. Like so many people are like that desert in terms of the way that with the metaphor is that, like, they find themselves just like, oh, so many people just try to be the same. So many people just try to be the same old, just like walking through a desert. And it's just the same dunes. It's just the same dry sand. It's not exciting. But then they get to your soul, pile 3, and they look at your soul and they're like, oh my God, here is this ice cold glass of water. So refreshing, so rare to find. I think that's another thing is you tend to be a very rare type of person as well. Even if you've ever done personality tests before, pile 3, like, I don't know, Myers-Briggs, for an example, there's tons of them out there too. Otherwise, I wonder if you tend to always get kind of rare personality types. Like, I think, is it INFJ is the most rare in the world? INFPs, I think, tend to be pretty rare as well. There's so many different ones, but you might have that personality type too if you've ever taken quizzes like that. But now you're unashamed. Now you're unafraid. Or if you haven't grown to that point yet, pile 3, Spirit is saying that they appreciate your capacity to get to that point of, and they're saying you should get to that point of not caring about your intensity, at least because here's, as I said in the beginning, it's not that your intensity is wrong, it's that other people, it says more about them and their uncomfortableness with the unknown, or their uncomfortableness with things that are different, okay? It's not that you have a flaw, pile 3. It's that other people, sometimes they need a bit more emotional and spiritual growth to appreciate who you are, okay? So just keep that in mind. I'm telling, your Spirit's telling me to tell you that. And then we have the Shepherd with the element of, I believe that is earth, yes. Element of earth with celebration and family. I don't know, are some of you into taxidermy? Maybe that's another habit or hobby that people are like, oh, that's weird. Which I don't think that's weird at all, pile 3, if you ask me. I think it's cool. But I just say that because there's a skull here. It kind of makes me think of like, oh, like they're arranging flowers or like things around the skull, like people do with they arrange taxidermy. But to a celebration and family, they appreciate your family orientedness, or even if you're not with your blood family, because of course I'm always aware that, you know, sometimes we have issues with our blood family, our biological family. I think even if you don't have a closeness to them, you have a closeness to other people in terms of like a found family. Like you're somebody who, I don't know, I think too, especially for those of you who are already more comfortable with who you are, they're saying, it's really odd. You're like, why are they saying an altar? You're like an altar to other people who also feel outcast or strange. And I think by altar, what they mean is that you serve as a really good example to them of it being okay to be uniquely them and quote unquote strange. Okay? Like, you're the example they look to of like, well, pile 3 is comfortable with who they are, so why should I feel uncomfortable with who I am? Okay? because you inspire that confidence in others. And I think that's part of your soul purpose here, pile 3, or one of them, one of your life purposes, is to make other people that feel outcast or considered strange or too intense, I guess, to use the same word, by society, to not feel so abnormal or weird. Because you're not really weird, you know what I mean? Like, so I hate when I say the word weird, because there's always that negative connotation. Hey, I love weird people. I'm weird myself. Okay, I'm a tarot reader, right? So I always mean it in the best way possible, because it's just like, I don't know, we need more people like you, pile 3, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then we have the Orator. Lots of skulls. Yeah, I wonder if you do taxidermy or things like that. Or you're, like, kind of attracted to the macabre in terms of, once again, maybe you do read horror, things like that. And mystery we have with the element of air, the Orator, communication, and confidence. Yes, okay, that's kind of what I think was coming through with Altar, is like you have that confidence that radiates out that other people really find inspiring. To also be like, okay, I can communicate who I am. I don't have to hide who I am. And then, too, when you even look at the symbolism of this, I mean, where else do you see it in pop culture but someone talking with a skull in their hand? Hamlet, right? So I wonder if you're into, like, classic literature, if you're into Shakespeare. And that's exactly what Hamlet talked about when he asked, to be or not to be, that is the question. He was asking about death, right? Precisely. So it's like you have that, I don't know, some of you might even be mediums or ghost hunters, things like that. You're just not uncomfortable with death. You're not uncomfortable with the other side. And it's another part of you that Spirit really, really appreciates, okay? So just keep that in mind. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but you know what I mean? Sometimes when messages come through intuitively, it kind of takes me a while to get the metaphor 100% correct, but yeah, you're not afraid. You're bold. Kind of give me that that mystic vibe. All right, first off to bat, we have the Sun. Yes, okay. They really appreciate your commitment to finding joy and also truth. I'm hearing more intuitively, this is more towards the truth interpretation of the Sun for you. You're someone who is honest about yourself, which we did discuss already. But I think you're also someone that people can turn to know that you will tell them the truth in a nice way, you know, in a way that honors where they're at emotionally. But at the same time, they know because you're unflinching and because you're bold that they will get the honest to God truth from you, okay? Very beautiful energy here, pile 3, look at that. And then we have, yes, the Hierophant reversed. You buck tradition. Society told you do it this way and you said no. That's exactly the Hierophant energy reversed. But Spirit is appreciating that. And I also appreciate that too as a person. I always appreciate people that are willing to tell society no sometimes, because as we all know, society isn't always right. It's not always right, unfortunately. But that's good on you, though, because a lot of people are afraid to buck those traditions. They're afraid to stare society in the face and say, no, this is who I am. Deal with it. I guess that's kind of how I would summarize your a lot of what Spirit is commending you for here, pile 3, is like you kind of have that deal with the energy, and it's just so refreshing. It's so wonderful. So intense. So comfortable with the unknown in the best way possible. And then we have the 2 of Pentacles reversed, okay? So in a reading like this, I would normally, of course, read this as more of a negative card, but because we're asking specifically about a good thing, as in what does Spirit adore about your soul, I would read the 2 of Pentacles reversed in a separate way. So I almost kind of read this as like a resistance that you have. And a 2 of Pentacles reversed resistance would be you have a resistance to being thrown off balance. I think you're a very steady person, too. Not a lot shakes you, and that's the intensity of your personality shining in there. But also, you tend to be someone who is very solid ground. I wonder if you're an earth sign. Pile 3. I know you got earth with the first Citadel Oracle, but you come off to me as someone who's so sensible and down to earth, and so, like, well, that's just the way it is, or you're just comfortable with the way things are. Like, nothing shakes you very often. I don't know. Like, you're very open to possibilities. You're very open to go with the flow of life. Just that very solid earth energy. Huh. Wonder if you're a Capricorn. You might be. Anyways, we'll keep going. Then we have the King of Wands. Oh, we do have some fire energy, though. The King of Wands is, and I apologize, it's going to be a bit repetitive because it's very similar to the order, but the King of Wands is someone who's very confident. They say, this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, and as we said before, repeat after me, deal with it in the best way possible. A King of Wands is someone who is also very in tune with their passions and their creativity. I think you tend to be a creative person too, pile 3, even if you're not technically into, say, like taxidermy as one example, or horror, mystery, supernatural stuff. I think a lot of who you are is just, I think that's what makes you such a great artist too, for those of you who are very creative, is that you're unapologetically you, and that is really what makes a lot of art the best thing, or best way that it can be, is that, some artists, and even in general with personalities, people, as I said, they try to turn themselves or their art into this, easy to digest thing that, society just, is like, oh, I know what that is. You're like, oh, that's acceptable. But like, you are like, no, I'm going to express myself without filters here, especially in your art. And that's exactly what a King of Wands does. So just know that Spirit is also commending you for that. So if you are a creative person, pile 3, keep doing your art the way that you're doing, okay? Because, once again, it's like that refreshing energy. It's so refreshing and it's so new. And it's so important to the world that you be who you are. Just the way that you are, okay? And then, I don't know if you can tell, but I think I know what the next card is, so we'll pull it. We have Judgment. So this card, I'm reading kind of in multiple ways here. Normally, Judgment would be like, being judged in some way, which maybe you did deal with a lot when you were younger, like I was saying earlier, pile 3. But you learn to transcend that judgment, as I said. You've learned to not care about that judgment in the best way possible. And on top of that, Judgment means someone who has leveled up. You are someone who, I will never look down upon anyone for where they're at in their spiritual path, pile 3. We're all at our spiritual path in the different steps that we're at for a reason. However, you are what I would call an old soul, which is someone who I personally interpret that as you've learned a lot more lessons as a soul than a lot of people have. Maybe you've had a lot of incarnations here on Earth of past lives, or, else places as well. And so I think you're kind of at the stage in your soul development where you're not learning a lot of like the easy lessons that most people, not easy, I guess, but you know what I mean? Like earlier lessons that a lot of people do in their soul development. You are kind of like, you're more of a teacher because you've learned a lot of these things. And I think that's why you're such a leader with that communication and confidence, is, as I said before, you inspire other people to be themselves unapologetically. And that's why you have that leveled up energy of the card of Judgment, is because you're somebody who is like, you're already at that level of understanding the beauty and the purpose and I'm hearing the word sanctity too. But yes, the beauty and the purpose of shining out with your specific vibration, your specific energy, and not being ashamed of it, because that's the thing, is that, as I was saying before, conformity can cause a lot of problems in life because people will tamp down their own inner light to fit into boxes, and you don't do that, as I said. So you are an old soul, spiritually advanced for sure. They're also commending you for that. And as I said, you tend to be that leader, teacher kind of energy to other people. So also, whenever you doubt yourself, if you do, I guess we all do, right? At times, just know that the more that you are you, the more that you inspire the souls around you to also be themselves. Okay? Earth needs people like you. As uncomfortable as it can be sometimes, because people might look, like, oh, that thing that you're into is weird, or, maybe even when you were young, people said to you, well, why can't you, just be normal, or why can't you just do this normal thing, or be into these normal hobbies, quote unquote, that word normal, right, quote unquote, because what is normal? There is no normal, right? Everybody's different, everybody's unique. Earth needs more of that energy, and so by your soul being here and you just being you, you inspire that beautiful energy in other people. So keep being you. As I said, pile 3. Keep being you. Keep looking deep. Keep being intense. If it makes other people uncomfortable, says more about them than you, as I said before, okay? Do not hesitate. Keep shining truth. Keep breaking traditions. Keep being that steady rock of example for others, okay? Keep being weird. It's good. Good weird. All right, so that was a reading today, pile 3, on what spirit adores about your soul and the light you carry. I hope, of course, number 1, that you liked it, but also that it resonated and it helped you in some way. That's my main goal with these readings, as always. And if so, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel if you would like to do so as your reading wraps up here at the end. And thank you so much if you choose to do those things, as every little bit helps the channel so much in growing its message, growing its size, growing, my goals here for helping people, as I said, are the main things that I want to achieve with my readings, is helping people, right? So, yes. As I said, thank you if you do those. And as we say in our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night. And I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Goodbye, pile 3.